FFPC Big Gorilla back for another live draft at Fantasy Savvy. Steve D'Angelo. I don't even know my own name anymore. Just kidding. But big draft weekend coming up, and we're going to get you prepped here with another live draft. We'll go over player analysis, ADP, sleepers, bust, what I kind of like to do. A little bit different here in this format. It is tight end premium, but you can get a good gist, for your home leagues as well here. Maybe you are in a tight end premium league. So appreciate you guys jumping in the room tonight. Like, subscribe, share. Follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy. We're going to come back on the other side. We're going to bring this draft board up. FFPC Big Gorilla, X at Fantasy Savvy. Please like, subscribe, share. Let's go. Welcome to the Fantasy Savvy Weekly Show with your host, Steve D'Angelo, discussing high-stakes fantasy football, NFL picks, and much more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, we're up. Double intro there. We took our first pick. We had CMC out of the 9 hole. I like him falling to me there. Very solid. The old guy before me took Genty. Again, this is tight end premium, 20 rounds, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 2 flex, kicker, defense. You do need to leave the draft with a kicker and a defense here. Some leagues like RT and FFWC, you could just keep going for sleepers and then just make sure you have a legal lineup before it's all said and done. But yeah, let's get into it, guys. I know a lot of people are drafting this weekend. I have one of my home league drafts tomorrow, and another draft Sunday. So let's see what we could do with this baby to give you guys some. Oh, wow. Brian Thomas and Drake London both fall to me here, which I like. Trey McBride is gone. So I'm going to take one of these receivers. The question is who? I've been taking a little bit more Brian Thomas of late. I haven't been getting a lot of Drake London. I don't like the fact that the Falcons just lost their freaking left tackle. That's not great for the year. McGarry. So in that case, let's go BTJ. Based on that news. But I do think Drake London is in for a monster season. I like grabbing him. But I do get excited about Liam Cohen. And, even though Travis Hunter is there, he's still not going to play 100% of the offensive snaps. Looks like a 70-30 split. Maybe that shifts more to a 50-50 at some point. We never know. You'd have to think, though, they kind of need him on the field. Diami Brown, when I went to the camp, was getting a lot of work, a lot of 11 personnel, a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. Hunter mostly in the slot. And obviously we saw what Chris Godwin was doing, in that system last year before he got hurt. But they're also going to use BTJ in the slot as well. And, it's hard to argue with Brian Thomas Jr. Led college football in touchdowns at LSU with Malik Neighbors there. I believe 17 touchdowns, and had an unbelievable debut rookie season, with Mac Jones throwing the ball. So Trevor Lawrence has no more excuses. I mean, he's got Travis Hunter. He's got Liam Cohen in the building now, coaching him up. Brian Thomas Jr., one of the best young receivers in the league. It's time for Trevor Lawrence to take a step up here and, prove that he's should have been the number 1 pick a few years ago. And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Lawrence, I think for me, what I wasn't crazy high on him when he came out. I thought he was a little overrated. Um, and he can't really run like he did in college, which I think hurts some of his playmaking ability at quarterback. But this could be a career year for him with these weapons that he's got now and this coaching staff. So we'll see. Doug Peterson wasn't the best. Um, we thought that he was going to revive after, um, the prior coaching staff. But we'll see how he does now with Liam Cohen in the building. Herbert Ermeyer back there before Doug Peterson. Obviously, that didn't work out either. So we'll see how it all works out. But FFC Big Gorilla, lots of spots left in these. If you guys want to jump in one of these, the only difference here is you get 1.5 points per reception for your tight end. Everything else is pretty much standard across the board, except for, I guess you could say, you get 2 flex here. Some leagues you get to start 3 receivers and 1 flex. So you get a little bit of a different option here where you could start up to 4 running backs and up to 3 3 tight ends and up to 4 receivers as well with the 2 flex. So let's see what comes back around here for me. So far, we have CMC and Brian Thomas, which is a very lovely start, I must say. We've been kind of steering away from Kenneth Walker a little bit of late. Drafted him a good amount early. Do I want to dive back into him? Charbonnet is starting to really move up boards. I'm starting to see him go into the 7th rounds in drafts now. Certainly, he's basically like a backup. But, with these Walker injuries, they're kind of pacing him now. Charbonnet could be looking at like a, if week 1, like 60-40 split, maybe just to kind of, save Kenny Walker, maybe if he's not going to be totally healthy to start the season. The season starts freaking next weekend. So, there's not much more time to rest this guy. So Charbonnet looks like he'll have some flex value. And obviously this running system with Clint Kubiak and this offensive line look pretty exciting. Maybe it's not so exciting for Sam Darnold for the pass blocking, but the run blocking looks like it, and the run scheme looks like it's going to be better. Is Sam Darnold going to be able to, move this team down the field and into scoring position? But maybe they're going to be able to run the football successfully with this 1-2 punch. Kenny Walker is still the guy. I still think he's definitely the better talent. Charbonnet, I'm not the highest. I think he's talented, but I don't think he's like anything you get wowed on. But he's just one of those solid backs. It's going to run north-south. He'll break some tackles. And, he's in a good opportunity. Do I think he should be going the 7th round? No, I think that's too early for kind of a handcuff. A guy, again, not more than a handcuff. He's going to have a little bit of flex value, but that could go away for Charbonnet. If Kenny Walker gets healthy, if Kenny Walker starts to really shine, that can move to like a 70-30 or worse. At some point, Charbonnet is going to take a little bit more of a back seat if Walker can just stay healthy. But that's the issue with Walker. Can't stay healthy. Misses freaking 4 games every freaking year. I was watching his YouTube account. He's like working out, sweating profusely. He's making like Oreo shakes. Hey, man, I love an Oreo shake too. Or a good chocolate milkshake. But, I just hope that, after having all these injuries early in his career, he kind of figures things out. Some guys do, some guys don't. CMC kind of seemed like he was figuring things out for a while. Was staying healthy after some early injuries in his career. And then now he's got that Achilles thing. No reports of, and it seems like he's got it figured out now. He's the only running back to stay healthy in that running back room. And now they bring along Brian Robinson. We'll see where I can scoop him up later in the draft. I think he'll be the guy over Garendo. Where do I want to go now? Do I want to take the risk of Tyreek Hill? Do I want to take the safety of a Josh Allen? Do I want to get another solidified running back in James Cook or Alvin Kamara? Um, Tyreek is we all know about Tyreek Hill and how explosive he is. Um, but Miami just seems like a little bit of a shit show. It seems like the Phoenix Suns of the NFL, where you had Bradley Beal and Durant and Devin Booker, and it just never seemed to work out. And the team didn't even make the freaking playoffs this year. And they're going to break that team up. Durant gone. I could see that similar to the Dolphins. They don't make the playoffs again. This team gets broken up. Tyreek gets shipped off. Maybe Waddle goes somewhere. I don't know. Waddle, they paid Waddle all that money, but maybe Waddle's the one guy that sticks. But maybe something. I'm just gonna play it safe. Let's go with Josh Allen. Let's just get it solidified. This is not a 6 points per passing touchdown league. Um, but it's just a safe pick here. Again, this is tight end premium. I haven't got a tight end yet. But we got some moves we can make later on. Let's see what we come back with here on the way back. Do we want to go running back? Do we want to go receiver? I'm thinking we'll probably go running back. And then when we swing back again, we'll get receivers. But I think that might be the move here. But let's see how we do. But thanks for joining me again, guys. If you're a first timer, let me know. Either if you're watching this live or if you're watching it after, comment. Let me know what teams you like the best. If you're rewatching this somewhere, and what we could, what they could have did differently. If you like my build, etc., etc. Appreciate the like and subscribe. We do a lot of these live drafts. We'll be doing all the way up until next. Maybe we'll Friday. We'll probably try to squeeze it Friday or Saturday. We'll probably try to squeeze one more live draft in, and then during the season, we will be doing Fab. We'll be doing NFL picks. So appreciate everybody watching tonight. Oh, sorry about that, guys. There's the board. Scrolled up a little too high there. Just want to share this baby on my Twitter account. Follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy if you haven't already. Appreciate that as well. If you're on the West Coast, let me know where you're from. You guys have any questions, comments? You want to talk about anything fantasy football? No. All right. Swinging back up here again. What do we want to do? CMC, if you're doing a home league, and you're only doing a couple leagues, is he a risky pick? Of course, based on his injury history. But again, he stayed healthy. CMC is like the one guy who's so into his fitness and just taking care of his body. You kind of trust him to figure things out. Now, he's had a lot of usage. He's getting up in age. These backs are, seemingly staying fresher and fresher. But remember a couple of years ago when everybody got scared of Derrick Henry after, he broke his foot. So, he was kind of at that age too. It's similar with CMC. Wow. There goes James Cook. I would have definitely considered James Cook there. Garrett Wilson's still there. Devontae Adams is a nice pick. Of course, you get a little bit worried with Matt Stafford in that back, although I think he will stay durable. Um, let's go Devontae Adams here. I like it. I think he's the best wide receiver on the board with Matthew Stafford. I mean, you got Matthew Stafford throwing you the ball, who's going to put it in all the spots that Adams wants it. You got Sean McVay setting up Devontae Adams, who already could set up himself, doesn't even need coaches. I mean, he's working in that Paul Hackett system. Nathaniel Hackett. Paul Hackett was his dad, who was also an offensive coordinator of the Jets. But Nathaniel Hackett, and Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, Rodgers and Adams played together for so long. They kind of knew what the hell they were doing. I mean, they just so timed up together. But they had a lot of time to work with Stafford as well. I know Stafford's been in and out, hasn't really been practicing of late, but still he's been there enough. Stafford's been there enough with Adams. I think they got it going. I'm sure they're having those breakfast meetings that Cooper Cup and Puka Nacua were doing. Now Adams is in that breakfast meeting, so is a little bit risky with the possibly having to go to Jimmy G at some point. You just hope that if anything, Matthew Stafford only misses like 2 or 3 games. Now there was 2 guys who had bad back injuries at the quarterback position. One was Phil Rivers, and Tony Romo. Tony Romo, I think, missed a lot of games. Phil Rivers, I think, gutted it out. So you kind of put Stafford on par with Rivers, just like kind of a warrior. We've seen Stafford get pounded on and just keeps going back out there. So, this is kind of his last year. This is his last hurrah. Bringing in Adams. I don't know how much longer Matthew Stafford's going to be able to play, especially considering all the hits he's taken and now he's got the back injury. So this is kind of the last hurrah for him. Now you could say, well, maybe if he misses a lot of time this year, he tries to come back next year. But I mean, there's no guarantee. I mean, if he really misses like 6-10 games or, gets ruled out for the season at some point, he might just hang it up. Is it really worth, continue to punish your body? Maybe Adams wants to hang it up too, or maybe they try to run it back one more year. But you have to think this is their best window here. The Rams defense is emerging. Nice young defense with Jared Verse. And they were a really good team last year. They played the Eagles really tough in the playoffs. So let's see what the Rams could do. But I'm kind of just banking on Matthew Stafford gutting it out for at least 14, 15 games this season. And I think that'll be good enough for Devontae Adams. And if he has to go to Jimmy G at some point, he has to go to Jimmy G. I mean, it's not the most ideal situation, but at least, Jimmy G can at least throw some accurate footballs. Although, obviously Adams was bugging out a few years ago because he's saying Jimmy G's throwing him hospital balls and going to get him killed or whatnot. So it's not a great situation, but I'm just banking on the fact I think Stafford's going to be out there 15, 16 games this year. All right. So far, we have one build here, Team 11, with 4 straight receivers. And, I mean, that's a pretty juicy start. Nico Collins, Puka Nacua, Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans. So we'll see how he cleans that team up with running backs, tight ends, and quarterbacks. But, 4 very strong receivers. Now, Tyreek's Tyreek. And, Puka stays above Devontae. I kind of like getting Adams 2 rounds later over Puka, though. I'll be honest. I don't really like that spot for Puka for 2 reasons. The early second. I took Puka once late first. I didn't feel great about it when I was in the 12th spot. But for 2 reasons, because you got Devontae Adams in the building, who's not Cooper Kupp. He's better than Cooper Kupp. So it could be a 50-50 thing. I mean, if Adams has a chance to be better than Puka. Obviously Puka's been in the building. He knows the system better. He's younger, but Puka's had his own injury concerns. He's missed some time again last year. So, and Adams was relatively healthy. Maybe that month off when he was sitting out with the Raiders before he got traded to the Jets kind of helped him a little bit. But I just think again, you could say the same thing. Why take Bowers when you can get Kittle 2 rounds later too? Um, but they don't really directly affect each other like Adams and Puka, where they're on the same team. And Adams has a chance to beat Puka. And if anything else, it's a 50-50. And even if Puka's slightly better than him, you still like the value more with Adams. So I just prefer Adams 2 rounds later. I just think it makes more sense. But still, a good start there for Team 11. Team 4 with the Burrow, Higgins stack, 3 solid running backs. I like that. I will see how he cleans up at receiver. Team 1 had a chance at Burrow, but decided to take Amari and Hampton. So could have had that stack there. And you kind of, when you're in that one spot, you kind of like to have the stack with Burrow. Because you're not going to get Chase. You're not going to get the one all the time. So you kind of like to get that stack if you can. And you've seen a lot of people now in that one spot trying to go after that T. Higgins, Chase, Burrow combo, which is actually fairly rare still. But I'm sure as, these drafts pick up more and more, it's going to get more and more popular. And you're going to see a lot more teams with it. But T. Higgins is another guy that can't stay healthy. Misses, 4 games. And think about the Bengals too. I mean, last year, Chase and Burrow were healthy. But the years prior, Burrow was struggling with injuries. And so was Chase a little bit too. So, it always looks good on paper until the season starts. There's injuries. Shit happens. That's why you got to play the games. But all right, so interesting choice here. I do want to get this guy. You got to pay up to get him, and you're taking him over some nice players too. But I have him getting a ton of them. He's expensive now, but it seems a little bit more justified. Let's see what Jack Lime does. There he goes, Ibuka. I mean, he goes in the 5th round. That's where you got to take him. But you're taking him over Devontae Smith. You're taking him over Waddle, even Pearsall, Jerry Judy. I mean, Ibuka's in a great situation, even better situation now because of the McMillan injury. I thought McMillan was kind of being hated on. We have 2 receivers. I'm thinking of taking another receiver here that's been steamed up in Ricky Pearsall. Juwan Jennings sounds like he's, I don't know what's going on. Are they playing a game of chicken there? They're saying that there's a report that Juwan Jennings is going to have to start the season on IR now. Because of his calf. The Niners is trying to pressure into him, getting out there because we're so close to the season now. Is he really hurt with the calf or is he holding out? First, we wanted to, they said he was going to hold out. Then all of a sudden the calf injury. So, is it a little bit of both? Who the hell knows? But then there was reports that, Shanahan's saying he's going to be out there week 1 or expect him out there week 1. So, Pearsall is in a very, very good opportunity. And we saw it in the preseason, Purdy and him just showing that rapport. Jennings and Purdy were showing a rapport last year too. So, Purdy is, still kind of hated on by some people, but he'll sit in that pocket, throws with anticipation. He's throws an accurate ball. He's in a very, very good system. You got George Kittle, you got CMC. So I had the double Niners combo there. Am I going to reach up for Brock Purdy? Not, no, because I have Josh Allen. But you know, that's another guy you got to jump up for is Ricky Pearsall. Him and Abuk are the two receivers that have been getting steamed up, and you got to jump and take them over some of these other guys if you want to get a piece of them. They're just the popular picks right now. So I did that because I was looking at some running backs, but I kind of there was two running backs that I was good with taking on the way back. So hopefully one of them falls to me, and I'll be happy. And we'll start this running back this draft out with a 2-3-1. And I don't think those running backs are going to last to me here. So that might be a little bit disappointing, but we'll see. Maybe he will last. And maybe I'll go back to receiver. I mean, why not? There goes Tyler Warren being steamed up. He's being steamed up too. He's getting taken over Laporta now, taking over Kelsey, taking over Hockenson. He's really been getting steamed up down the stretch here. So the hype, the rookies, new owners are coming in here. You don't know. They love what they saw at the preseason. Daniel Jones, he doesn't really like to throw downfield. He could just pepper Tyler Warren all freaking day long. And you saw how they used them in the preseason too, running them on wheel routes, crossing routes, and as we get into the season, he's going to be in the backfield. He'll probably get some direct snaps, wildcat. He could throw the ball. I mean, Tyler Warren has a chance to throw and run for 5 touchdowns. And, if you guys watched him at Penn State, that's what he did at Penn State. They used him all over the field. This guy's like a tank. Catches the ball. He's tough to bring down. So Isaiah Pacheco is available, and I'm happy because I haven't been getting a lot of them. Jalen Waddle's tough to pass on, but I've been getting Waddle. I haven't been getting Pacheco. I got 3 receivers. Again, you can start 4, but it's good to get my second running back. Pacheco looks healthy. Last year he was not healthy. He did not have the same burst. Remember, broke his fibula. Did just not look the same. Tony Pollard, same thing. That's kind of why people are down on Tony Pollard a little bit too. Although Tony Pollard's starting to go a little bit higher. 7th round, the Tajay Spears opened it up to the 6th. But the same thing with Tony Pollard. And, you may have a negative. You may say, well, if you're a Cowboy fan or, you really weren't paying attention to what he did last year. I mean, Tony Pollard had a bad last year in Dallas coming off that fibula injury. I don't think he was the same. And then last year, he looked like the old Tony Pollard, 1,000 yards with freaking Will Levis and company. So same thing with Pacheco. I mean, in the preseason, it looked like the old Pacheco. He looks like he's in great shape. He's fired up. Kareem Hunt's going to be in the way a little bit, but not as much as last year. They're going to go back to the Pacheco. It's probably going to be like a 70-30. And then at some point, Kareem Hunt just may fade out a little bit more. I think Kareem Hunt did an admirable job last year, signing with the team, telling Andy Reid he's going to give him all he can give. Is he going to be able to stick around all year? I don't think that's in the plans. I think they're going to want to maybe utilize Brashard Smith or Elijah Mitchell at some point. Kind of thinking it's going to be Brashard Smith. Kareem Hunt dropped a touchdown in the preseason as well. But, maybe Kareem Hunt is just kind of a thorn a little bit. But Pacheco, I think, will be the main guy. And, they're going to be moving the ball, obviously, to the Chiefs. So I think he's a pretty sound RB2. And, last year you had to pay, 3rd round to get him? Now you get him in the 6th. Not a lot of people in here tonight. But if you are, comment. I know this is a little bit late, 12:30 on the East Coast. No Jamie or Al tonight. But if you guys are watching, shout out. If you're new, comment on anything, ask any questions you have. If you have a draft coming up, or if you like any of these certain builds, or you're wondering why people took certain guys in certain spots, whatever you want to talk about. I still haven't taken a tight end and tight end premium, so I got to consider that now. Um, Tight ends are moving fast. This is the spot to take one here because, in this draft, you're going to see 4 tight ends go. Some guys are going to draft 5, possibly. And there's not going to be a lot of tight ends on the free agent wire. They're going to be some shitty guys. Mark Andrews a little bit banged up. Expected to return to practice next week. So, sounds like it'll be fine. Isaiah Likely, we don't know if he's going to be back for week 1 yet. All right, we got Tyrone in the chat saying, I drafted CMC, Garendo as the handcuff. Would you try to trade for B-Rob, possibly cut for B-Rob? 100%. Yeah. I mean, it depends on how many roster spots, bench spots you have. I mean, because if you have B-Rob and Garendo, I know you want to keep both because, I prefer B-Rob. I think he's going to be the guy over Garendo, and Garendo has his own freaking problems staying healthy. B-Rob's been a little bit banged up here and there as well. But B-Rob's going to be the guy, man. I think he's the better overall back. Garendo looks good in that system, but B-Rob might look B-Rob might look like better than Jordan Mason at times in this system. It's possible. And B-Rob is an underrated receiver too. He's got good hands. Jordan Mason's kind of underrated too. They're both quality backs. But yeah, man, I'm not a big fan of Cup. So if your receiver room is pretty deep and you don't really need Cup, like if he's your 4th receiver, or 3rd receiver, and I don't know what your lineups look like, but yeah, I think Cup for B-Rob is a pretty fair trade. Maybe, again, I don't know how deep your bench spots are. It's tough to hold Garendo and B-Rob all year. But if you are going to cut one guy, it would be Garendo, and maybe you could trade him for something cheap. I don't know. But thanks for the question, man. Appreciate you coming in tonight. Mick, I'll get to your question in a sec, and I appreciate you subscribing to the channel as well, man. Let me just make my pick here. So, talking about taking a tight end. Some good picks on the board. Again, you got to push tight ends up in this draft. And I do like this guy a lot. So I want to grab him. Just let me secure him first. Let me secure Tucker Kraft, who is great after the catch. He certainly could be Jordan Love's favorite option. They're going to really utilize him even more and feature him even more. Remember, they took Luke Musgrave over him in the draft. And, Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft was being dismissed by many fantasy analysts. But if you watch both of them play in college, Kraft kind of stood out more. Great after the catch. So he's going to be, he really may take a huge leap this year. Again, they spread it around a lot too. But, the receiver room's a little bit banged up. Wicks is banged up, at least early on. Watson's going to start the season on PUP. Dobbs had a little bit of a back problem. I think he's back now. They bring in Matthew Golden. But, I think they're really planning on featuring Kraft even more this year. So, yeah, I think he's pretty solid pick. And I don't mind using him as my tight end 1. All right, one more pick here, and then we'll get to your question, Mick. Let me just see who I'm going to take here. We got Olave, Addison, Debo, 3 solid receivers there. Caleb Johnson, Jordan Mason at running back. It's kind of good to get a third back here because they kind of dry up if you wait a little bit too long. You can get a Jordan Mason who's going to be in a 50-50 split. You can get Caleb Johnson, or Jalen Warren. I actually prefer Caleb Johnson. I know most people like Warren, but I think as the season goes on, and it might be Warren and Gainwell, maybe kind of hurting Caleb Johnson early on. But again, he's the most different back. Gainwell and Warren are similar. Uh, Johnson's the only bruiser, and he's most likely going to get goal line carries, short yardage carries. And if he starts to really shine and, get better at pass protection and Rodgers starts to trust him as the season goes on, I think he's the guy you want towards the latter end of the season. It might not start out that way. But I think as the season goes on, maybe by like week 7, week 8, Caleb will start to emerge. And I did like the way he looked at Iowa. I mean, I just, you know, I actually think he's a better running back than Omarion Hampton, in my view. All right. I'm up now. These receivers are tough to pass on. I haven't been going after Diggs. I'm just kind of over Diggs. Um, Jordan Mason is there. Do I want to grab a fourth receiver? Do I want to grab a third running back and build some more depth? I'm going to grab Jordan Mason and build some more depth at the running back position. All right, Mick, let's get to your question. Would you trade JSN and Mark Andrews for Kittle, Swift, and Najee Harris? JSN and Mark Andrews for Kittle, Swift, and Najee Harris. JSN and Andrews. I don't like Swift. I'm not, I think this trade's a little bit risky. Kittle's great. I mean, Kittle could be the tight end one. Swift, I feel like, I got some qualms about him. I know it's a better situation now with Ben Johnson, and he certainly could, be the number one guy there all year. But who's to say that Roshan Johnson and Monangai don't kind of get involved? And he's kind of the different guy. Like, he's their best pass catcher by far. We saw it in the preseason, catch that pass, hurdled that guy. And I used to like Swift a lot, but he's not like a great in between the tackles runner. So I think that's going to go to Roshan and Monangai, that David Montgomery role. And, Swift will be catching passes out of the backfield, getting those outside runs. But he's not going to get goal line touches, I don't think. Similar to when Jamal Williams was there. And, Jamal Williams had 17 touchdowns, killed Swift's fantasy value. And that was with the Lions. So is it going to get that much better with the Bears? With a worse offensive line, Caleb Williams, who's not as good as Jared Goff at this moment. And I don't think, he's going to have to do a lot to be better than Jared Goff. So, I don't trust Swift. I avoided him last year, and he had 3 good games last year. Swift, outside of those against shitty opponents, outside the 3 games, he didn't do much. Najee, it's good news today. That he's going to be potentially back for week 1. He's not going to go on the pup. Things have been improving with his eye. Now, is that Najee's agent and, Najee just kind of, being overzealous and, trying to protect himself? I don't know. And it may take Najee 3-4 weeks to get geared up because he hasn't been practicing with the team. Still got to learn some things. But, it's running backs different. You see running backs get traded and they can kind of step into the system fast. So, he's still a little bit of a risk. Again, it's a 50-50 timeshare at minimum with Hampton. And, could be worse. Could be like a 60-40, 70-30 if Hampton really starts to show out. Getting Kittle is nice. And you're getting 3 players for 2. I just think I'd try to find something different, a different combo of players. So I don't know if that's my favorite trade. I love getting Kittle. But maybe there's something else you can get on his team. I don't know. I don't know what else he has. For me, it's not the best trade. And I still think Andrews, he's been Lamar's guy. It's slow start to last year, finished really freaking strong. Likely's a little bit banged up, so that helps, Andrews at least initially. And Andrews is going to be the guy. They kept him. I think he wants to have a redemption season after what happened in the playoffs last year. And JSN, maybe it's not as good with Darnold behind that offensive line now. Doesn't have DK taking off the top of the defense, but you got Cup there. Darnold and Gino, I think, are similar. I don't know if they're one's that much better than the other. And the way Darnold looked last year, I mean, maybe he's ascending over Gino at this point. You just get a little bit concerned about that offensive line because Darnold kind of needs time. But I mean, JSN's going to get fed. JSN's a hell of a receiver. So I don't really like that combo too much, man. And of course, it depends on, the way your roster looks as well. Do you need running backs? Are you deep at receiver? That's probably what you're searching for, some running backs. But for me, I think I'd look for another combo trade there. I'm not really jumping at the bit for that trade, to be honest. Appreciate the subscribe, man. If you want to continue to talk about your team, what other avenues you could do, no problem. Brian, our boy, says, "What's up, brother? Welcome back, man." What's the last strong wide receiver one in your opinion? London, or does it end with like a Nico Puka? I would say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I would say Lad is a strong one. I think Lad could be a strong one. I don't think it's Nico. I think those guys are not the last, Nico and Puka or London. I think those guys are well inside and very safe, strong number ones. The last strong ones I would say are Lad, maybe AJ Brown, and even Higgins. I mean, if Higgins plays 17 games this year, he's going to go nuts with Burrow. He just can't ever play 17 games. He always plays 13 games. So I would put him inside that as well. Devontae Adams has a chance to be a number one receiver. Mike Evans could get there. Garrett Wilson could get there. DJ Moore was wide receiver 6 a few years ago, and Justin Fields missed a month. I know people don't like Fields because he can't throw the ball. That's the popular narrative. The Jets are going to run the ball too much. The volume's not going to be up. But that's the same argument we heard with DJ Moore a couple years ago, and people didn't like taking DJ Moore in the 4th, 5th round. And meanwhile, they were taking him in the 3rd round the year before with Sam Darnold when Sam Darnold wasn't even good. So the argument didn't make any sense. You were getting a value with Fields, who was the better quarterback at the time. So I mean, I still think Fields is capable. He's going to target Wilson a lot. So I think Wilson is in that mix too. Adams, Wilson, Evans, Ladd, Higgins, and Tyreek. Tyreek could, I think he's there too. But Ladd and Higgins, I would say, the last real strong wide receiver ones there. The rest of the guys obviously carry a little bit of question marks. Adams, you could say too, but the Stafford stuff, and then he's got Puka in the way. You just don't know how that's all going to end up. But again, Adams could finish over Puka this year. That wouldn't be really surprising, to be honest. No problem, man. No problem, Mick. All right, back on the clock. We have 3 running backs, 3 receivers, quarterback, tight end. I wasn't really looking at the board. Ferguson and Loveland went off at tight end. Well, we have Josh Allen, right? So this is a tight end premium. So let's go with Dalton Kincaid here and get a little bit of a stack. Now, Dalton Kincaid, strong rookie season. Last year was not great. He had a little bit of an MCL injury, so he wasn't healthy most of the year. him and Allen kind of seemed to miss a bunch of times. It could have been a little bit of a sophomore slump for Kincaid. Maybe he felt after that rookie year like, all right, I got this figured out. I'm a hell of an athlete, which he is. I mean, he is a fluid athlete, and he was a guy that didn't start playing football, I think, till like his senior year or late in high school. He was a basketball player, I think. So you could just watch him. He's like just a natural athlete. And maybe he was just a little bit overconfident. The sophomore slump was hurt. The Bills did spread around. They were running the ball a lot. But it's what are you going to do? I mean, what do you say about the Bills? Is there going to be a number one target? Is it Keon Coleman, who's been getting a lot of buzz? Does Shakir, take that huge step up? Have we seen kind of Shakir's ceiling? I don't know if we've seen his ceiling. I just don't know if, how much more we could really get out of him. And I would say if it's going to be a guy to really kind of go nuts in the Bills offense, which I don't know if we'll ever see. I think it'll kind of be spread around. It would be Kincaid or Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman wasn't the highest on. Wasn't a big separator in college, but a good 50-50 guy, athletic guy. He's got some speed, pretty decent after the catch as well. I think he's working his ass off. I think Kincaid's working his ass off. These guys want to win a Super Bowl. The Bills have a great chemistry. They see how freaking good Josh Allen is. That can only make you want to continue to work harder and harder and be great because you're so close to winning a Super Bowl with this guy. So one of these guys, I think, could have a really big year. Or, it could just be kind of like last year. It's kind of like a committee. I mean, Matt Collins led the team in touchdowns with 5. But you got Josh Palmer in the building now. I don't think Elijah Moore is a threat. Curtis Samuel seems like he's taking kind of a back seat. And Josh Palmer's had his chances to emerge in Los Angeles. So I don't think he's the guy either. I think it's Keon or it's Kincaid. But it could be a mix of Keon, Kincaid, and Shakir. But I also think I don't think we've seen Josh Allen's best passing season yet either. And that's kind of not what their identity is. They want to run the football. There's design runs for Allen, but maybe they kind of, switch things up a little bit more. Maybe they start passing a little bit more this year. Open up that passing offense. And Allen, is he capable of throwing over 4,000 yards and, 40 touchdowns? I mean, it could happen. I mean, he's got the talent to do it. It's just that they're so run heavy. But it is quite possible. They don't really have a true elite player in the building, but they have a bunch of solid guys that they could utilize and a good offensive line. All right, back up. Keon Coleman got taken, didn't he? Yeah, 8th round. Wow, and he's getting jumped up now over Shakir. Oh shit, this is a tough choice for me. All right, let's go. Let's continue to stack it up and go Shakir. The guy stole Keon Coleman, so we'll get the triple stack with Allen. Brian, Derrick Henry or Jacobs PPR? Been thinking about this all off season. Going with the King, man. I prefer the King. Now, both guys had huge workloads last year. Derrick Henry is 31 years old. I guess going to be 32. He continues to defy the odds. When does the fall off happen for Derrick Henry? Could it happen this year? Sure. But how much can it really fall off? I mean, even if he doesn't have a lot of yards, and I was saying this last year, even if he didn't have a lot of yards, he was still a good bet for 14, 15 touchdowns And the same could be true again this year. But even if, he ran for what, 1,900 yards last year, if he runs for 1,300 this year, I mean, there's a world where he could still have 15, 16 touchdowns. So, and he had 16 last year, 5.9 yards per carry. Um, and he's just completely different. I mean, he's freaking 6'3", 230, 240. It was unbelievable, early in his career when people were doubting him and saying he wasn't good. And a lot of that was from the fantasy community because he didn't catch passes. That was the knock on him. And there was times where like he would, run into the hole and get stuffed and he'd take his legs out easily. But remember, the thing that kind of helped Henry early in his career was he was behind DeMarco Murray. And then even in his third season, he was splitting time with Dion Lewis, the former Patriot, which is insane. It took Artie Smith to kind of unlock Derrick Henry. But once that kind of helped him, preserve his career a little bit though. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise. Josh Jacobs, I get a little bit worried about him this year. Only because he had, I think, more of a workload than they expected. It was still a pretty big workload for Jacobs. And if you remember a couple years ago with the Raiders, he had a huge workload. And then he fell off the next season. Everybody was chasing him next year. So that 2022 season had 340 carries, 1,600 yards, 12 touchdowns. Then the following year, 15 touchdowns. I'm sorry. The following year, 13 games, 800 yards, 6 touchdowns. So just killed you. And then everybody faded him like, oh, well, maybe he's not that good. But he went into a much better situation. I mean, there's no doubt that Josh Jacobs is solid. But 300 carries again for the second time in his career. Didn't catch as many balls as he did in that 2022 season. Caught 53 balls that year. Caught 36 last year. But again, a lot of touches, a lot of usage. And I think I trust Henry to stay more durable, even at the age of 32, than I do Jacobs. Though Jacobs is a strong dude too. 5'10", 223. He's built pretty damn well. He's going to be an absolute workhorse. Marshall and Lloyd continues to get hurt. I mean, he's starting the year in the pup. He comes back. He gets hurt again. He comes back. He gets hurt. And now he's starting the year in the pup. Emmanuel Wilson's the cuff. But short story long here, bro. I prefer Derrick Henry. I just trust Derrick Henry. He's a Hall of Fame running back. He's a one-of-a-kind running back. I mean, Derrick Henry is going to go down in the record like just a legend in NFL history with what he's done. So I think Derrick Henry's got one more pretty damn good season left in him. And he plays with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. So Lamar helps open up things for him for sure. So I'm going to go with Henry there, man. Would you take Bucky over Jacobs? Yeah, I would too. I mean, maybe I'm slighting Jacobs a little bit too much, but I love Bucky Irving. And he was a little bit banged up down the stretch last year, but kept getting out there on on the field. And he, Rashad White was, he just took everything from Rashad White down the stretch. So another good offense. I know Tristan Wirf's going to miss like a month or whatever. But Bucky Irving he's very unique at running back. The way he sets up, defenders with his cuts, and he's not like a true breakaway speed guy, but he's just got some great short area quickness, and got enough acceleration. And I kind of like Bucky, man. I just what I prefer. I mean, I don't think you can really go wrong with Jacobs. I have slight concerns about him maybe breaking down a little bit this year. And maybe the Packers are forced to throw a little bit more, which would be good for Love in that passing game. And I don't know if they want to run as much anyway. So, yeah, man. I prefer Bucky there. All right, we're up next, and we'll get to your questions, Isaac and Danny. Appreciate you guys with the questions. Appreciate you guys coming in tonight. Like, subscribe, share. We are on the clock here. Um, well, I have CMC. This is the spot where I have to take Brian Robinson and cuff him. So this that fell into me beautifully. Love it. There's a third tight end that I'm going to take later. That I'm going to wait for. So we're good there. He's getting snagged up a little bit too. We'll talk about him when he gets taken. Um, Isaac, let's bring up your question. Just did my fantasy draft, 10-man PPR. Got Purdy, Hampton, Kenneth Walker, Justin Jefferson, London, AJ Brown, Kelsey with Devonta Smith and Rasheed Rice on the bench. Very nice, man. Your receivers are just ridiculous. I mean, Justin Jefferson, London, Brown. I mean, that's sick. I'm guessing you got a nice little value on Kenneth Walker there. Probably people are concerned about the injury. And then you get Devon and you got Rasheed Rice in the mix. So at some point, if your running backs are hurting a little bit and your depth is hurting, you can always trade one of those receivers, especially when you figure out what's going to happen with Rasheed Rice. So, 10-man leagues, obviously things are going to look a bit better, but still, man, I think that's a pretty damn solid team, even for a 10 damn league. So nice job, Isaac. Danny Sandoval. What's up, man? Welcome to the show. 10-man PPR, Kyler Murray, Aaron Jones, Pacheco, Nico, Neighbors, JSN at flex, McBride, bench, Ridley, Pittman, Addison, Chubb, looking to trade for a better running back. Oh, let's go over one more time. Kyler Murray, Aaron Jones, Pacheco. Okay. Nico, Neighbors, JSN. That is ridiculous. Nico and Neighbors is nasty. JSN as your third receiver, very, very nice. Ridley as your fourth receiver, awesome. And then you have Addison, 5. Yeah, I would definitely try to make a move. I mean, Aaron Jones and Pacheco is not bad with the receivers that you have. I would say I'm not a big Kyler Murray guy. Um, I think, he's going to be a little bit inconsistent for you with you. I know you got McBride, but you don't really need to stack in a confined 10-man league. I would say if you're going to trade one of those receivers, maybe you can move Pittman and Addison and Jones for a quarterback running back combo or just a running back. Um, a 10-man league, you're going to have a lot of quarterbacks out there on the wire too. Like, so if Murray's not being the consistent option for you, you're probably looking at guys. I don't know who's on your wire, but maybe Cam Ward is probably there, and maybe JJ McCarthy's out there, who I really like a lot as well. So yeah, but I would say you have enough wide receiver depth that you could definitely go out and try to upgrade your running back room. And I would say I would hold on Pacheco. And I think, Jones and Mason. Mason's kind of going to be more in the way than Chandler ever was last year. So yeah, let's maybe try to move Jones and maybe one of those receivers, preferably Pittman if you can. See what you can get with Pittman and maybe Addison and Jones. Maybe you can get a nice running back, quarterback, and then maybe throw Murray in there and get a nice quarterback, running back upgrade. That's what I would do. Thanks for the question, man. Isaac Posner. Am I up again here? I'm up again. Let me just make my pick and we'll get to you, man. 12th round. Running backs aren't the best. I'm going to take Fields. Um, these formats, you go 20 rounds, so you kind of need to take a backup. Now, I didn't really need Fields. I have Josh Allen, but that pick is just kind of to steal him from the rest of the league. I do think Fields is going to be have a nice season, fantasy wise, at least. As a starting quarterback, he'll probably have his struggles. The biggest thing with Fields is he's not consistent for 4 quarters. But in fantasy, he gets you those 70, 80-yard rushing games, those 100-yard rushing games, those two rushing touchdowns. So even if he throws for 200 yards, he runs for another 50, 60, 70, and maybe throws one touchdown, but runs for another one or two. That's why he's so great for fantasy. Um, so I'm just kind of stealing him away from the rest of the league. Penix, I'm high on, but I don't like the fact that he lost his left tackle. Bryce Young could have a nice season. Cam Ward could certainly be nice, like a CJ Stroud type season. JJ McCarthy's a guy I like a lot. I feel like he can run. You got Jefferson, you got Addison, you got Hawkinson, and Kevin O'Connell is just a QB whisperer there. Look what he did for Darnold. Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullins are balling out in the limited time they were there, throwing for 3 touchdowns, 300 yards, and Kirk Cousins was solid all there. So JJ McCarthy, I like his talent a lot too, and he has a rushing floor. But I didn't really like was the rest of the stuff that was on the board. I mean, I could have took Ramondre Stevenson, I guess. I don't know, Nick Chubb, a little bit more running back depth. But there's other guys I could take down the stretch here. So, um, you know, I don't really nothing really stood out to me there that I had to grab. All right, let's get back to you, Isaac. Purdy or Dak? I think Dak might explode this year, especially with no running back options. But Purdy is in a better situation this year. Yeah, the one concern you have about Dak is he's older now. He doesn't run as much as he used to. And he gets hurt a lot. I mean, there's always something kind of going on with him. He's kind of been breaking down a little bit. So that's a little bit concerned. But then the upside is you're right. I mean, the running back room is nothing to be excited about. I know their offensive line is kind of conducive to running the football. Um, but again, Javante Williams, Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue, like you bring in Pickens, you still got Ferguson who's solid, CeeDee Lamb. I mean, it just makes sense. And we don't know what's going to happen with Parsons. I don't think their defense is going to be that great. Overshawn, he's coming back from a major injury too. Diggs is also coming back from an injury. So, they kind of been, killed. Some of their best defensive players have been ruined by injury. But their defense is not going to be as strong, especially if Parsons. There were some rumors that he could end up in Green Bay today. But maybe that's just kind of their agent, trying to get Jerry motivated to bring Parsons back in the building. And Purdy, their schedule is very nice. The Niners schedule. Now it's a little concerning that Jennings is kind of out. Ayuk's probably not going to be back till week 6, week 7, but you still got Kittle. You can still throw to CMC. Pearsall and him look like they have a nice connection. I would say Dak is probably the better pick at quarterback and has more upside. Purdy might be the safer pick just because of Dak's injuries. But Dak seems to go. I mean, if you look at his career, one good year, one bad year, one good year, one bad year. So last year was a shitty year. Maybe it's a bounce back for the Cowboys this year and Dak Prescott because George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb is a freaking really nice combination. So it's close. I prefer Dak though, if I'm being honest. And Dak has showed more in his career. Birdie's basically had, one really good year. Last year wasn't the great. Again, they had a bunch of injuries. The offensive line, it was kind of a shit show for the Niners last year, and their schedule is very, very easy. So Purdy, and he runs more now at this stage in their careers. So I don't mind either, really. I just think I prefer Dak more than Purdy. And the market dictates that as well. Dak is, going a couple rounds earlier than Purdy. Appreciate you, Danny. Thanks for the question, man. Back to Isaac. I also picked Amari Cooper off the wire. What do you think about the whole Jacoby Myers Raiders wide receiver room situation? If you could please tell me what you think. Sure, man. That's what we're here for. Let me just make my pick coming up here in a couple spots, and I'll start expanding on that. Do I want to go with another stack here with Josh Palmer? I mean, at this point, Jonnu is not a bad pick either. I do think Jonnu Smith could be the second leading receiver for the Steelers. Um, I kind of like that pick here. I wonder if I can get. I don't. I wonder what I need to do here. There's two guys that I want. I'm just trying to decide which one I should take first. I think I have to take the tight end first because there's two running backs I feel comfortable taking. But let's take Jonnu, and then we'll see if we can get one more tight end here. Grab four tight ends in this league. But back to your question, man. That Raiders wide receiver room. Jacoby Myers, he was back out there today. So you don't know what's going on there. Like, obviously, he probably heard some things, like they're going to bring in another receiver, or maybe he got a little bit upset about it and then demanded a trade. Maybe he got into his emotions a little bit, but he was back out there today. So they could have, Pete Carroll, veteran, old savvy, he may have calmed him down a little bit. So Myers, he was like, we're just bringing this guy to help our team. Maybe he feels some type of way that Dante Thornton's getting all these looks in preseason, and you know, maybe he just feels some type of way. Bowers is obviously, the man there demanding a bunch of targets, but Myers had a really good year last year. I thought the Patriots should have kept him instead of signing Juju Smith-Schuster. So, I think if I had to guess, I think Myers will stay in that room. He will play with the Raiders this year. Now, Amari Cooper, interesting last year when he got traded from the Browns to the Bills, showed some flashes with the Bills, but wasn't playing a bunch of snaps. They were kind of content with just kind of keeping him as a reserve player. Now, that could have been because he came in kind of late and they wanted to kind of just work him in. They didn't really feel comfortable, like he knew the system. And they felt more, like the other guys, like Mac Hollins, who was running more routes and getting more snaps than him. Were just more accustomed to the team, but it was kind of crazy. And Cooper kind of seemed okay with it, I think, but maybe not. I mean, I don't know what, I mean, it would have been nice if the Bills could have found a way to keep him, and really worked him into that offense. Because to me, Cooper is 30 years old. In the few games that he had and the few, snaps he was out there, I thought he still looked pretty damn good. Made some great catches, still was toasting guys with his route running. So you give him a couple weeks to ramp up. Maybe it takes, maybe week 1, week 2, week 3. But a month in, I mean, Amari Cooper could be the number 1 receiver on this team over Myers. So I think Cooper has a good chance to really perform for this team and really settle in. I think he's got all year to learn the system. It's not like he's coming into the team late. He had plenty of time to decide where he wanted to go. And this is the spot he chose. They got Cooper, they got Myers, they got Bowers, they got Genty. This Raiders offense could be really, really dangerous. So I think Myers' value is hurt by the emergence and the signing of Amari Cooper, to be honest. But I mean, Myers still should be solid. I just don't know if I would be drafting him where he was going. And then you could get guys like Jack Betts to emerge. Oh shit, I'm up. Let me see if I can pull that pick back. You know what? That's fine. I'll take Brandon Ayuk. I haven't been taking him. Um, did I need him? I wanted to take a running back there. Oh, yeah, to answer your question, I missed it. But you know what? I don't mind Ayuk if he's back by week 6, week 7. Not too bad. And he's my 5th receiver, but got to get some more receivers there. 4 running backs. Yeah, there's. I was hoping that Jerome Ford or Najee would fall to me. They were both gone anyway. I'm kind of mad about that. I like the fact that Najee's back. I think Jerome Ford will, if they don't ever bring in Junkins, I mean, he could just remain a starter all year. So he's not a bad little pick, but we'll figure it out. But anyway, to answer your question, I think that Myers, I'm not really pursuing him. I just think that with Genty, with Brock Bowers, I think he gets hurt, and now Cooper, and you could get Jack Betts emerging or Thornton. I still think Myers is overall the second best receiver behind Cooper, and he should be the number one guy to start the year. But I think at some point, Cooper could start to hurt Myers. Thanks for the question again. Do you like Mason Taylor or Brenton Strange more at tight end? I think that's a close one. I think Brenton Strange is probably the safer bet because Mason Taylor is still just a rookie. But I think more upside goes to Mason Taylor. Obviously, he was a higher pick in the draft. There's not a lot of options there for the Jets besides Garrett Wilson. I mean, Alan Lazard and Josh Reynolds are very underwhelming options. So Mason Taylor could be the number 2 guy. We saw a couple years ago Cole Kmet have a career season with Justin Fields. Also, DJ Moore had a career season with Justin Fields, 1,400 yards or whatever it was. And Fields missed a month. So, Mason Taylor might be a slow start for him, but maybe he starts to come on towards the end of the year. But Brenton Strange, when Ingram was hurt last year, definitely showed out a few times. Now, there was some games where he didn't do much either. And, I kind of like his talent. But Brian Thomas is going to demand a lot. And Hunter is going to be out there demanding a lot. And I think Diami Brown is going to be heavily factored into the offense too, with the running game. So if I had to pick one, maybe Strange is a little bit safer, but I think if you're chasing upside, I would go with Mason Taylor. But Strange is not a bad late round pick. Either one of those guys not bad. Again, I think Strange could be safer, but if I had to pick one, I think I'd rather be chasing after Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor kind of reminds me of like a more athletic Dalton Schultz. Do you think Tyler Warren is talented enough to be quarterback agnostic? Yeah, 100%. And he kind of fits Daniel Jones's style because Daniel Jones doesn't really like to throw the ball downfield too much. And Warren's going to be running a lot of those short routes, crossers. And we saw him, Jones, miss Warren on one pass, but then come back and hit him on a wheel route later. And I think Warren's going to be really, really featured in this offense under Steichen. And again, Warren could, like I said earlier in the show, could have 3, 4, 5 touchdowns throwing, rushing. So he doesn't need Daniel Jones to be there. So we saw Sam Laporta smash 2 years ago. We saw Brock Bowers smash last year. Even Kincaid had a really strong rookie season. So I think Tyler Warren, man, I think better chance than not that he really has a big, big season in fantasy football this year. So 100%, Isaac. I don't think it matters. Even if Anthony Richardson comes in, we saw in the preseason, Anthony Richardson was kind of playing safer. He was checking down more and he was hitting Warren. So either one of those guys, if Jones gets hurt or if he gets benched and Richardson comes in, um, I think it's going to work out for Tyler Warren regardless. He just is a hell of a football player. And he's really going to help the Colts this year. And you're starting to see him really get steamed up in these drafts. He was actually more of a value later on. Now he's starting to go higher. All right, I got to get back to my queue here and start getting some good picks. I got to build this wide receiver. The tight end I wanted to take was Harold Fannin. He was drafted already. Again, he's getting steamed up, especially in this format. He's going to get steamed up. I was getting him like round 18, round 17. Now he's going like round 14. Even in non-tight end premiums, he's starting to move up to like round 17, round 18, because they're going to utilize a lot of 12 personnel, 2 tight ends in the field. They're going to be throwing to Fannin in the slot. So even with Njoku out there, it's possible they trade Njoku. Possible Njoku could get hurt. There goes Josh Palmer. That would have been nice. Let's start building this queue up. Well, I know I'm going to take a running back if he's there. Again, it works. It fits for this build. And again, you get 10 bench spots in this format, so it helps you out a little bit. Helps you build good depth. Do some things you normally wouldn't do. Smaller leagues. Let's go Isaac Garendo, because again, we have CMC. Now I prefer Brian Robinson. I think he's going to be the direct backup, but CMC goes down. It could be a mix of him and Garendo. Garendo looked good last year when he started. I mean, he has that breakaway speed. He's got that, CMC breakaway speed, where Robinson is kind of the, bruiser in between the tackles. Again, Brian Robinson's an underrated receiver, but they could kind of mix both those guys. So why not? It's just, I got to hold 2 guys that may not do much for me all year. But in case he goes down, CMC, my first round pick, I have the insurance. Or if he misses 3-4 games, I got a good insurance plan. And that was the same thing last year when you took Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason was a pretty good insurance plan, and the production was pretty damn good when CMC went down. You never want to lose your number 1 pick. Obviously, they'll never be good as CMC. But if he does go down, hopefully it wouldn't be long. You got really, really good backup, because the handcuff in that system is like the best handcuff, or one of the best handcuffs in fantasy football. All right, let's go back to receiver now. This guy I haven't been getting a lot of, but let's see if he lasts here. He's been flashing in the preseason. We'll go with Isaac Tesla. Scored in every preseason game. Still has to kind of work over Tim Patrick. But again, if there's an injury to that receiving room, he's like a wide receiver handcuff almost to JMO or Amon-Ra St. Brown or Tim Patrick. And also too, they got that other small receiver. His name is eluding me right now. Let me pull it up. I should know this off the top of my head, but it's getting late here. 1:20 on the East Coast. Khalif Raymond. But you got to think Tesla Could beat out Khalif Raymond and Tim Patrick. Kim Patrick's getting old. He tore his ACL twice. So, I mean, he could easily get that third receiving spot in that offense. So, not a bad pick here this late. Thanks, Alex, for pointing that out. Appreciate it. Khalif Raymond. Isaac says, "How do you like Ollie Gordon or over Jalen Wright?" I don't mind it. I think Jalen Wright's had some chances. Again, I like Jalen Wright was a very very popular pick coming out of Tennessee last year, and he was one of the reasons people were fading Achan. But at this point, I think it's justified. I think it's justified Ollie Gordon over Jalen Wright. He had the better preseason. Jalen Wright has kind of not done great with his opportunities. So yeah, I think that's the call. And Jamie does join the room. What's up, man? Yeah, man, I went live around midnight, but I appreciate you jumping in. I was wondering where you were. Thanks for hopping in, man. Still checking out your channel. Fantasy Six Pack. Watching some of your shows, man. I'm enjoying it. Joe's been doing a lot of those good interviews with all the beat writers, getting a lot of valuable information out of that. It's probably why Joe is, top 5 in rankings last year. Awesome. So yeah, man, great channel there. Appreciate Jamie coming in. Great fantasy mind for sure. All right. So we got some time here. You guys could keep asking questions. A lot of good questions tonight. A lot of good feedback. We're getting close. The shows should be picking up. The season's going to be going crazy soon. I'm trying not to get burnt out by these drafts, but you know, we're gonna have to grind away all the way until Saturday. We've got home leagues coming up now. We got to do more of these. We got to do more best ball drafts as well. Got to be doing lots and lots of drafts every single day, and then we get into the season. It must be nice to be a best ball drafter because yes, you draft some of these guys draft like what 2,000. I mean, it's insane how many drafts some of these, yeah, how many drafts these guys do. But at least you get to just watch it all happen. You don't have to deal with the fab and the trades and all that other stuff. Whereas if you're a season long player, you got to constantly be in the fab game. And if you're in certain leagues, you got to be trading and dynasty. If you're in a lot of dynasty leagues like Jamie, it's a lot of freaking work, man. But you know what? When you're playing season long, I think it makes you a much better fantasy football player because I think you're a little bit more dialed in to what everything that's going on. You're more familiar with the players around. You could be a best ball player and draft 5,000 drafts or whatever it is, and basically play your lottery. But when you're you still learn from that. But when you're doing season long, I think it just improves your overall process. So I think you want to do both. I'm more of a season long player than best ball, but I do a decent chunk of best ball drafts. I'll do like at least 50 best ball drafts. But some of these guys are doing, 200, 300, 400. They're maxing out all these contests. And maybe one day we'll just be strictly a best ball player. But maybe not. Maybe I'll be doing this till the day I die. So we'll see. Jamie says I was doing a puppy on another channel with little French kid from My Name is Earl, season 2, episode 15. That's awesome. What channel was that? Dynasty makes you a better player than redraft. I agree. Dynasty is, you get the up and up on all the prospects. So you're ahead of the game there for sure. I mean, your knowledge of all the players is extensive. All right, I'm up here. Jamie, what are your thoughts on Roshan right now? Do you think he's I mean, he's fallen. I heard some best ball people saying, that he's their number one rostered player, but he's kind of being shit on in redraft at this point. All right, 35 seconds. Who am I taking here? Kendre or Roshan? Well, since Jamie's here, we're gonna go Roshan in honor of Jamie. Um, it says Roshan is fine, just has a minor ankle injury that won't affect him during the preseason. Yeah, didn't play any of the preseason because of that. Jamie likes Taj Brooks as well. Back to the Dynasty redraft. Yeah, I mean, Dynasty definitely improves your overall knowledge of players. The one knock up I have about Dynasty, and it's hard for me to play in a lot of leagues, is the trading. I just can't, that keeps your team competitive. And then a lot of the leagues, a lot of leagues get killed, 2, 3 years. People can trade their draft picks away, stack their teams, and the league dies out. So the guys that were trading for draft picks get screwed. And then a lot of times in Dynasty, I think too, is there's people just get robbed in trades and it just destroys the league. And that happens in keeper leagues. My first ever fantasy league was a keeper league, and I play in auction keeper leagues. So, trades can kind of ruin leagues a little bit or just give huge advantages. So that's my only knock about Dynasty. But as far as making you a better fantasy football player, no doubt that Dynasty is probably the best because you're just you're forced to go deep and learn about so many different players. So when guys pop up during the season in Fab and you're in a redraft, you know that because of Dynasty more than the rest of the league. Oh, he wanted me to go Taj Brooks. Um, my bad, bro. And he is kind of direct backup to. I mean, you got Samaje Perine, but Perine stinks. I'm starting to come on to this guy a little bit more of late. Um, this is my last pick at the positional level. Shit. Coker or Roman Wilson or Troy Franklin? Uh, let's go with Coker. I'm going to switch it up. I've been taking a lot of Roman Wilson, so I'll grab Jalen Coker. If Adam Thielen gets traded, that's going to open things up for him big time. And Coker and he's solid. Nice little rookie season last year. Kind of came on towards the end with Bryce Young. So, it could be a nice opportunity. It sounds like they want to move Thielen. We'll see if that happens. I love Roman Wilson, Jamie. I've been taking him left and right. I just wanted to switch it up there. But I do like Roman Wilson. I mean, I have a million shares of him. So, again, I play in a lot of these, trying to mix it up a little bit. So, but yeah, man, you're right. Roman Wilson would have been a fine pick there as well. I can commissioner all my leagues and rule with an iron hand. Everyone is required to pay up until the year that they trade picks. Wow. Good to know, man. Roman Wilson is my most owned dynasty in 18 leagues. Yeah. I mean, I loved him last year. I drafted him in so many leagues last year. I was disappointed the Steelers didn't even give him a chance, but that's kind of been Tomlin's MO with rookie receivers. I mean, even Antonio Brown had a very slow start to his career there too. So he kind of like lets them slowly develop. And he was hurt a lot last year too. But yeah, I mean, he could be the number two guy in receptions there. I do tend to think that it's going to be one of the tight ends, but Roman could be the number two guy. But I do kind of like Coker. I'm kind of coming on to him a little bit more. And again, if they trade Thielen, but it's better. But obviously, Roman's Pat's a little bit stronger right now. All right, and we finished this draft. It went pretty smoothly. Let's look at defense here and kicker. Patriots have a nice 6-game schedule to start the season. Now, the Bills is in one of those games, but the other matchups are great. So they're a good early streamer. Rams defense is obviously strong. Kickers, we got Bucker. Oh, Cam Little's still there. Maybe I'll grab Cam Little, the guy who banged a 70-yarder in the preseason. Although Bucker is pretty damn solid. We don't know about Cam Little. I mean, just because he makes a 70-yarder. Did bang a 59-yarder too when I watched him too, and it looked like it was going to be good for maybe 65. Guy's got a hell of a leg. I'll be good with. There goes Bucker. Let's see if we go Cam Little. I usually take the defense before the kicker, but I haven't been getting this guy. He usually goes by now, so let's see if I can get him. All right, we'll wrap this baby up with a kicker and a defense, and then we'll go over the build. You guys let me know which teams you think are the best. At the top here, I am Team 9. Again, Team 11, we were talking about him earlier. He started with 4 straight receivers. And his running backs, he got not bad. So, all right, let's go Cam Little. Yeah, he got Harvey, he got Montgomery, Jalen Warren, Braylon Allen, Jerome Ford, Kendrick Miller. Yeah, he did a good job with his running backs. I got to admit, and even grabbing Pat Bryant late with Jawan Jennings. Quarterback, he grabs 3. Purdy, May, Love. This guy did a good job. He did a really good job building depth after starting, with those 4 strong receivers. Kelsey, Theo, I mean, his tight ends could be a little bit risky. I mean, Kelsey, you can't really argue in the 6th round in a tight end premium. Theo Johnson, I'm not in love with though. Although, he should emerge a little bit more this year. We don't really know how good he is. Neighbors going to get 10,000 targets. Let's see what else we like here. Team 4, I kind of liked his start and really like how he finished it though. Team 1, mm, not bad. Jamar, Kyron, Hampton, Sutton, Ridley, Mahomes, Njoku. I don't know. What do you guys like the best out of these teams? Which ones really stick out to you? What's a team that you prefer here? Um, Team 6, CD, Jonathan Taylor, Walker, Hubbard, Zay, Ingram, Charbonnet. Again, he's going in the 7th round. Even in a tight end premium, he's going in the 7th round. I don't know. I don't. To me, I'd rather have Mason. But again, the running backs get skimmy there, so it's not. You can't really hate on it. New England and Rams are both there. Let's go. Let's go New England. Do you ever get Twitter messages from scam? Yeah, I'll get that all the time. Got to block them, shut them down. I'm too fried to look at teams and evaluate them. Just smoke the fatty. I get that. You got to maybe let it soak in for a little bit more, or the analyzation skills start to pop up. All right, so let's go to my team. This is an interesting build, though. Team 5, Saquon, Drake London, Trevion, Daniels, Metcalf, Rice, Hunter, Addison, Javante, Sampson, Ramondre. I mean, a lot of good guys in this room tonight. He grabbed Harold Fannin in the 14th round. He's getting steamed up. I think that's fine here in the tight end premium. I wanted to get him. I took Jonnu. I was thinking maybe Fannin I can get maybe round 15, but anyway, let's see here. I grabbed a couple guys that I don't normally grab in this draft, but we're going to start out with CMC, Brian Thomas, Josh Allen, Devontae Adams, Pearsall, Pacheco, Tucker Kraft, Jordan Mason, Kincaid, Shakir. So we got the Bill stack, Brian Robinson and Garendo to back up CMC, Fields, Jonnu, Ayuk, Isaac Tesla, Jalen Coker, Roshan Johnson, Cam Little. So the starting lineup in this team will be Josh Allen, CMC Pacheco, my 2 running backs. My 2 receivers will be Brian Thomas and Devontae Adams. So I think it's pretty strong. I mean, when you have Allen, Brian Thomas, McCaffrey, and Adams, those 4 I think is pretty strong in your starting lineup. Then you got Pacheco as your second running back, which I think is solid. Then Ricky Pearsall will be one of my flexes. And my other flex will be either Kincaid, Shakir, or Mason, or Jonnu, I guess, if he's getting a lot of looks early on. And then eventually, when Ayuk comes back, if I decide to hold him that long, or the news gets worse, I'll drop him. But if he's starting to gear up for week 6, week 7, thank you auto pick for that one. I'll start putting him in my flex. And then my tight end will be Tucker Kraft. So, I think it's a pretty sound team. Again, nice balanced team overall. I think my backup running backs, I got 2 handcuffs for CMC and Robinson and Garendo. And then I grab Roshan, who, could be the main goal line there. Could be the Montgomery guy, but maybe he splits with Manungai a little bit. I don't know. We'll see how it all shakes out. Roshan missed all the preseason, which gave Manungai kind of a leg up. Roshan has kind of been a little bit banged up in his career. Hasn't really shown much in the NFL yet. But we'll see. We'll see if Roshan could kind of be a thing this year. I know a lot of sharp people in the best ball world have been drafting him left and right. And then we get Tesla, who we take a chance on. Again, I think he'll probably need an injury to be truly relevant. But, I mean, he's looked great. Jamie, what's your thoughts on Isaac Tesla? Do you think the hype is too much, or are you buying in? You think he's legit? And then Jalen Coker, second-year receiver out of Holy Cross. I kind of like him. And if Adam Thielen gets traded, I like it even more, and I'm kind of anticipating that happening, possibly. And then we get New England defense, who has a nice start to the year with their schedule. And then Cam Little, who banged a 70-yard field goal in the preseason. So I think this team's got some juice. Pet Rock Racing is like NASCAR for rocks. I train mine for a month. My champ, Carl Grenat, is undefeated. Okay. We like to travel and comes home when I'm on the road. I also enjoy collecting air samples. I got 2017 2017 Ohio Airfield. I was in Ohio, man, extensively for one summer back in, I don't know, I'm trying to think what year that was. 2011 maybe. I spent like the whole summer working in Cleveland. Driving back and forth from Cleveland to Jersey. That's when I went to the Indians game, and I also I went to the Hall of Fame. Check that out as well. But no, I got plenty of Ohio air by lungs. Appreciate it. Tesla is legit, but only for dynasty in a couple years when JMO contract ends. What do you think about if Tim Patrick gets hurt or St. Brown gets hurt, or even JMO? I mean, then what do you think if he gets a chance to step into a starting role? Like, do you think he could really be a formidable piece for the Lions offense, or you just think it's going to take him a couple years to get truly adjusted to the NFL anyway? I haven't been drafting a lot of them. I don't know what to think, to be honest. Remember Matt Jones from Arkansas? He was like 6'6". I remember I used to use that dude in Madden. He was a beast. Like Clarence Moore, another 6'6" guy. But he was also from Arkansas, didn't really pan out. So, but no, we'll see. They did trade up to get him. That GM, Brad Holmes, has been doing a hell of a job identifying talent. So, why not take a chance there and grab him here in this draft? All right, guys. I appreciate everybody coming in. His role fits JMO 1-for-1. Yeah. Similar. You are right. But I appreciate everybody joining me tonight. We wrap this baby up almost 2 a.m. I'm going to try to do a draft every night, maybe until the season starts. Actually, I lied, but at least at least pumping these draft out as much as possible until the season starts. Did a show on the Face Off Sports Network earlier, making predictions, division predictions, Super Bowl predictions, a couple future bets. We're going to be back Thursday, I think, for a future show with Ben Devilson, Deviltison. I got to get his last name right. FF Rabbit Dad on Twitter. Guy is pretty damn smart and sharp when it comes to futures betting and NFL betting in general. So we'll have him on Thursday. And we'll be doing more live drafts all the way up again until the season starts. So thanks everybody for joining me tonight. We will see you again soon. Take care, brush your hair. I'll leave the draft board up. You can take another look at it. But again, like, subscribe to the channel. Follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy. And that's it. Take care, guys.